What is Peyton Manning going to do next? We have been asking that question since he retired more than 4 years ago. It seems like every year someone tries to hire him to become a broadcaster. That is something he has resisted. The one thing that he wants to do is eventually run a team. And he doesn't just want to run a team, he wants to own a team. I don't think he's ever, Chris, going to have the money necessary to be the majority owner of a team, but I could see him being the guy who is the name, the face, the voice, while the person who actually has the money and who holds the majority of the equity is kind of hiding behind the curtain and letting Peyton Manning run the show. But he'll have to have a piece of the equity in order to do it. He recently spoke with Bleacher Report about the fact that he has already received offers to run teams. He said he's never had a formal contract offer, nothing in writing. Well, that's baloney. It's never reduced to writing until you know it's done. No one's going to reduce it to writing unless he says, I want to do it. All that stuff happens verbally, and you come to an understanding as to what's going to happen, and then once everyone says, all right, we want to do this, have the lawyers draw up the papers. So that's he's playing a little fast and loose with reality there. It's clear he's had some discussions, but the bottom line is he's going to want to be a significant owner of any team that he ultimately runs. And I fully support it. Whenever he does it, he's going to be incredibly successful, Chris. We've seen others who have tried and have failed. He will put in everything he has to. And I think that's one of the reasons why he hasn't done it. And there's still a chance he never does it, because once he gets back in, he can't do anything halfway. He is going to take over. He is going to make it an everyday obsession. And I think at this point in his life, it may not be the right time for him to do that.
Well, I think that's fair. I think that's exactly what it is. It's just not the right time. But I think it's only a matter of time. I do. I think at some point, hey, listen, there's only so much golf and so many beers you can drink until a guy like Peyton Manning's like, okay, this is boring. All right. I know, I'm on the golf course and having fun and maybe gambling with some buddies, but okay, I've gotten my rush and my life fulfillment out of that. He's going to miss the energy at some point and the daily challenges of the NFL. I think he's made for it. First, just too knowledgeable, too smart, been around too many good players, understands team building. Got to see a guy that's very similar to him in the hierarchy of quarterbacks and John Elway do it, who I think is a phenomenal GM. We've seen John Lynch, of course, who's having great success with the 49ers. I think it's only a matter of time and who and when. And I always look at, the Tennessee Titans, who have a little bit of an interesting ownership, issue there right now. And he played in Tennessee at the University of Tennessee. So that makes sense. And the Saints, those are two where I look at, do I just go with, if there's ever an inkling for somebody to squeeze in there, I think it'll be Peyton Manning. And to me, the big question is, Mike, does Peyton and Eli go in it together and pool their money together to get some, like you're saying, some equity of the team because they're going to need some other people? Or is this one of these kind of ventures that Peyton is going to be like, no, I'm doing this myself. Eli, you find your own team if you want to do this. I want to do this. That's where I'm very interested in it.
One of the realities of NFL team ownership is as the team values keep going up and up and up, it is harder to find people with the money who can afford to own the team and also to run the team. And look, there has been some flexibility. Ultimately, the league does whatever it wants to do. And you can put family money together and make it work. They could get Archie and Peyton and Eli and slap it all together, but you still have to have enough money to run the thing too. It is not an inexpensive proposition. And the other thing too is, Chris, this isn't like placing him on a team to play for, because ultimately the owners of the teams, if the geographic location makes sense, fine, but the owners have to want to be able to sell or carve off a chunk of the equity and sell it to Peyton Manning. And until that happens, you may just have to sit and wait for someone else to say, I want to sell, and it may be a team that has no connection whatsoever to Peyton Manning. I want to push back on one thing you said, too. You said John Elway's been a phenomenal GM. Is phenomenal a little over the top? Is phenomenal really a fair assessment? Is that an accurate assessment? Phenomenal.
I only know two other GMs who went to more than one Super Bowl in the last decade. And he won one of them, he lost one of them, and I know the last 3 years haven't been good, but the first 7 years of the decade were very good and very relevant. And he brought in a lot of big-time free agents and a lot of good draft picks. So, yes, I do. And I think he set himself up, John Elway, and phenomenal is and another run here. So I know it's not been perfect, but I still think it's towards the top of football when you talk about a guy who makes aggressive moves, goes all in, and made his team relevant for a period of time, whether it was Peyton Manning, Aqib Talib, DeMarcus Ware, TJ Ward, Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, John Elway went through a 5 or 6 year period where he pushed the chips into the middle of the pot every year and went, we're trying to win the Super Bowl. And yeah, they lost their way a little bit the last few years, but I think they're building a resurgence there in Denver right now.
I think without Peyton Manning, they don't get to the Super Bowl.
Well, Mike, I mean, you know, I think. I mean,
okay,
yeah. Okay.
I know it. How about this? I know it. I can say it with certainty. I believe that without Peyton Manning. And I'm not taking away. Look, he's the one that landed Peyton Manning. He was able to land him. I'm not. Look, that in and of itself was a tremendous accomplishment. Everybody wanted him except the Texans, the one team that Peyton Manning wanted that didn't want him. The rest of the league wanted him almost. And John Elway was able to get him, so you got to give him credit for that. I give him credit for that. I just think phenomenal. But when we look at the last 3 years, phenomenal may be a little bit of an overstatement. That's all I'm saying.
That's fine. You're right. I hear you. Right. You know what? I overdo it because I hear sometimes too many people being critical of Elway, and I just think people have forgotten about 2010 through 2016 where he was really awesome. I think it was 2011 through 2016 when he took over the team.
Here's the one point I'll make, and I've kind of bounced all over the place on this. When they hired John Elway in 2011, I said there's no other team that would hire John Elway than the Broncos. And that in and of itself has to give you concern about whether or not he's suited for this job because no one else would hire him for that job. Peyton Manning, multiple teams would consider him to come in and give him the keys. But Elway has done a great job in his time running the Broncos football operation.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.